In Ukraine, the industrial town of Sloviansk is home to the last functioning maternity ward in the part of Donetsk region under government control. Located around 25 kilometers from the front line, the town has been under assault by Russian forces since 2014. Several buildings bear the scars of more recent drone attacks from Moscow. And despite this, many families are determined to stay, and nurses and doctors are working tirelessly to bring babies safely into the world.
A new life begins. One of 40 babies born in this hospital each month, only a few kilometers from Ukraine's battlefield. This is Anastasia's first baby.
We have a girl, Arisha. Giving birth is joy. A small baby my husband and I waited for a long time.
They came from a neighboring city because this maternity hospital is now the last refuge for expecting mothers in the area. But this city too is attacked daily by rockets, glide bombs, and different types of drones. This is live in many towns across eastern Ukraine. More and more people flee to western Ukraine, but not everyone can afford higher rents.
We will stay at home as long as possible. When it gets impossible for me, for my husband, or for the little one, then we'll leave. But in order to leave, we need to know where to. With a small kid, an apartment in Ukraine is very expensive.
For now, they're determined. They will not leave their city, just as they refused to postpone having a baby.
Times are hard now, but we can't give up on having kids.
Olga is a gynecologist. When the full-scale invasion began in 2022, she joined the military and worked for over 3 years at a civilization point. She returned from the army just days ago.
They asked me if I was sure to want to go as a gynecologist to the war zone. I said yes.
Bullets, shrapnel, a grenade exploding in a soldier's hand. The images she shows me are hard to absorb. From holding off death to helping bring new life, a sharp contrast. But challenges remain.
There are much fewer people working here than before the war. Considering the fact that we are the only maternity hospital in the region, there are not enough workers.
Gynecologists are now needed here. That is why Olga came back. Some members of her old team are also here, like Olena, the head nurse who has worked here for almost 40 years.
But this is our life now. We have to continue.
Even under these conditions, and with other maternity hospitals in the region closed, Olga, Olena and their team bring a baby into this world almost every day. They can deliver and perform emergency C-sections even under heavy bombardment.
We can deliver babies here. There's an equipped bomb shelter and an operating table.
We are not allowed to go to the shelter if there is no air raid. These images are Anastasia's. A few weeks ago, the hospital came under heavy attack. Missiles landed just meters away. Pregnant women and staff rushed to the shelter. Hours later, shattered windows, glass everywhere, an everyday risk. A day after we filmed, the hospital was attacked again. The next day, it's time for Anastasia to go home with little Arisha. All 4 grandparents arrive to welcome the new member into a world marked by the sound of bombs and the refuge in the underground shelters. Anastasia tells us later she hopes the war will soon just be another chapter in the history books, when their little daughter starts going to school.
And let's get more on that. We are joined by DW correspondent Karolina Chamoy, who filed that report and joins me now here in the studio. And I'd just like to pick up on that hope that we heard in the last part of the report. You know, they hope that it will be over soon, but how removed is that from the reality right now?
Well, it seems to be quite removed. We know there is a stalemate at the front line. They know it as well. And at the end, of course, they hope. Everyone hopes until the end, Sarah, but there's no real movement around that. Also, on an international level, politicians, it's not the highest priority right now. As you probably also see in the news shows, you're not opening with the war in Ukraine every day like it used to be perhaps a year ago or 2 years ago. And people there still hope, but they know nothing's happening so far. They're exhausted. Also, the soldiers at the front are exhausted. Zelensky visited some troops from Azov near Pokrovsk. That's also not far from where we were filming yesterday. Also to give them motivation, to give them hope. But we are right now in a point where everything's freezed. There's no movement right now.
What stood out to you the most while you were working on this report?
Well, I thought, Sarah, it was really interesting to see how used people are to hearing the bombs, to air raids, to recognizing Shahid drones by the sound, glide bombs. They're just used to it. It's not, you can see in the interviews, there's no big drama about having a baby not far from the front line. There's no drama of a pregnant woman, 8 or 9 months, going to the shelter because bombs are falling around. It's just an everyday thing. It's a sound that's always there, some booms and bangs in the background. And that's what I was really surprised about. I've been there a couple of times, but this time it seemed to be even more normal for people. And I think it was also interesting to see how different coffee shops or restaurants where we used to go to as reporters are just not there anymore, like 1 year after we went there the last time. So there are a lot of things happening. It's becoming more dangerous, but still people are living their everyday lives and destruction is just everywhere.
Can you compare what it's like in Kyiv, which I know you're in Kyiv very, very often, and then when you leave Kyiv and you head into eastern Ukraine? What is that like?
It's a different world. I mean, you also have the air raids in Kyiv, but in Kyiv, you also have, Kyiv is a very vibrant city. You have coffee shops, you have restaurants. There are air raids mostly at night. Yes, you go to the shelter, but in the eastern part, it's just a different world. You can see the vehicles. They're armed like in a kind of cage to defend themselves from drones. The roads are wrapped in net, in a kind of web, also as a defense from the drones, from the smaller ones, because the Shahed drones are just too big. And you can see the distraction is just right there in different coffee shops, different cities, smaller cities. It is a different world. The eastern part of Ukraine is different from Kyiv, yes.
DW's Karolina Chamoy, freshly back from Ukraine, joining us to tell us a little bit more about your reporting. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sarah.